Are you ready to save our kids? If children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers that will support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you.
Yay, yay. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hi, y'all.
I'm so excited for this day. Yay. First of all, hopefully my goal here is to make it all the way through this hour without coughing. That would be a win. And then
Okay to cough.
and then now I get to meet some great people and we get to wrap up our we get to wrap up and just remind everybody it is Autism Awareness Month, right? And I know that one person was like, autism aware, I hate this month thing. Okay, we all kind of get a month, right? We get a month to bang the drum and bring awareness to things that people don't normally know about or think about. If it's not your commonplace in your household, somebody needs to make you more aware of what's happening outside. So although April is considered Autism Awareness Month, please understand autism is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days out of the year. So every day parents are working towards whatever this is to improve the lives and allow their children to thrive in a system that is not initially set up for them. So we just want to bring more awareness so that we can get the support in the other parts of the month, other parts of the year, So that's my first thing. So yay. Because I'm really bad at this and I've been told numerous times, I'm going to ask everybody to go ahead and scan to like and follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because for whatever reason, I just keep forgetting to say, hey, go out to that YouTube channel and subscribe, hit that subscribe button. As always, I also want to let you know, we love our teachers. That's why we have Corinthia Dixie here. We love our teachers. No matter what happens, we understand that teachers make the world go round. They are the second part of who we need in our children's lives. We never once want you to feel as though you are alone and we are bashing you. We are not here for that. We're here to provide you a solution to the problems that we see. Data tells us that there's something that we need to address. We're looking at the data and we're noticing we are part of the problem and we want to be part of your solution. So here's where we have those conversations and are able to have the ability to have an open dialogue with people who are working towards a solution that will be helpful for you in your classroom with all of the students, because collectively it is our responsibility as a whole. So this is definitely a platform where we are going to explore what the challenges are based on the data that we're seeing. And then we're going to take a look at who is offering a solution that will help support those students and those teachers, and then give you a way to actually come in the marketplace and find what you're looking for to improve your teachings. So we're going to get started. As always, we always start with the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. So in 2021, they say that K through 12, 54.2 million children were enrolled in school. That means that K through 8 is 49.4. That number is projected to be reduced to 46 million children. That is letting you know that there is a problem. In 2031, the numbers are going to drop significantly to 46 point, nope, that's not the right number. Yeah, it's going to drop to 46 million children. So that is a problem and something we need to address. Inside of that, there's 90,000 schools in the United States. 4 million, a little bit more than 4 million teachers are there, right? But 55% of them want to quit. That is somebody ringing the bell saying there's something going wrong. And for all of those people who say, we have a teacher shortage. That is an incorrect statement. We have many teachers. The problems are financially they're not getting the money that they need in order to be successful because they're taking money out of their pockets and applying it into the classroom. The other one is they're not getting support. And then there's so many other things, but I'll pull some of them out now, which is physical violence against teachers is never okay. If you cannot protect the person that's leading the class, then you are going to lose the leader of your classes. So any administrator who are not protecting their staff and the students, that is why a lot of teachers are leaving. No teacher signs up to be bullied by a student or punched, slapped, or spit on by a student and have the teaching staff, have the administrator say, well, you can't hit them back. That's inappropriate and unacceptable because that's not how life works. So then we look at it and we're saying come back to the 54.2, we have 7.3 million children that are on the special needs, are in special needs in our schools, right? And so we kind of have to start to look at that. We do know that there's a wide range of reasons why the students do not want to go to school due to bullying, being disrespected and disregarded by teachers who are bullies. That is something. So 5.4 million students skip school every day due to bullying. That is a problem that can be solved, and we're not doing enough about it. Just keep in mind, my whole entire premise is that we are in a co-parenting relationship. So that means parent number one is teacher number one, and that is home. Whether that's a 2-parent home or a 1-parent home, doesn't matter. At home is parent number one. At school is parent number two, teacher number two. If these two groups together cannot get it together, your child will suffer. And that's why I believe that I have always said it, parent one home, parent two school, and the community is a bonus parent. That bonus parent helps to identify some of the things that are going wrong with your children out in the street. I know we got told on a lot, right? And ding dong ditch, what is a doorbell ditch, kicking over trash cans, drinking out of other people's hoses, right? Things like that, right? So that bonus parent helps the child to understand how life is going to work outside of the parent's home. Mm-hmm. So thinking about that, school days, 180 school days. Your children are in school for 6 months, 180 school days, 1,260 hours per year. That only counts the time they're in the rooms, right? It doesn't count the travel time and the amount of time the parents are away. So when you start to look at it, parents are away from their children 2,600 hours a year, which seems like maybe not so much, but it's enough to make a significant impact. So you got to be mindful of who you pick up in the process. And now the last one I'm going to address is this. Corinthia is wearing a t-shirt, and that t-shirt says we need Black teachers. So I'm asking for any Black teachers out there. I know it's not necessarily something everybody wants to do or can do, but there's a reason why I'm bringing that out. So 87% high school graduation rates are in the United States. One Black teacher increases high school graduation by 7%, in turn 13% enroll in college. When you add 2 Black teachers, it increases to 32%. Okay, so here's the thing: there's something very beautiful about a Black teacher in being seen by other students. Mm-hmm. We were raised by Black parents, and so strangely enough, the way we kind of move in life is a little bit different, and the expectation stays consistent across the board. There's no differences that we apply to one student over another. We give everybody the same expectation and the opportunity to meet that expectation. So that's kind of how that is. So based off of that, this is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm in love with this conversation because we want to make sure that parents can walk away understanding that they have options and the school has options, and together you guys can solve whatever you have in front of you. So today we are going to concentrate a little bit more on the teacher retention and the autism, because they do coincide in a way where I don't think people are making a correlation. Mm-hmm. Hi, Phil. Hi, Kristen. Thanks for joining us today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ladies first, Aaron. We're going to bring up Corinthia. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do, ma'am.
Hello, I am Corinthia Dixie. I am the owner and founder of Education Reconsidered. And Education Reconsidered is doing all the work related to teacher retention. And in that aim, I help school leaders and districts retain teachers that they want to keep, because we all know and understand the benefit of having a teacher return year after year after year.
That is pretty cool. Let me say something. So when we were talking, you
Mhm.
made a comment, and I wanted to ask for clarification. So each year, your teachers are invited, not teachers, your principals or your teachers are invited to return, or is it an invitation to return? We liked what you did for the previous year. Come on back, or oh, this didn't work out for y'all. So no, your invitation has been revoked. Is that kind of what happens in teaching?
So there's two things that happen. Like, teachers uninvite themselves, meaning they go and work somewhere else or they leave education. But there are situations where admin or districts, because most principals say they don't have the power to hire or fire, they just recommend. So then that a district can uninvite a teacher based on skill level or whatever. I mean, which just should be right. There are teachers who are in classrooms who are not good for kids or good for the profession at all and should be uninvited, while at the same time retaining all of those who are good and want to stay, so that we put great teachers in front of great kids every year.
I like that. And I feel like we should be, oh, this is going to be a great conversation, because ultimately, first of all, I think I'm going to adopt that phrase a little bit. The invitation, I'm going to revoke your invitation. We no longer wish to have you here. Because I think that that's so important, because to say that, because you have to earn your right to play. Mm-hmm. Just like we have to earn our right to stay in a position at any corporate position, we have to earn our right to stay a teacher and stay a leader. And if you're not good leadership, you shouldn't stay in a leadership role, because it does more damage.
Absolutely.
So, yes, thank you. Oh, one more question. Mm-hmm. Education Reimagined. Please explain how you came up with that name and why.
It's Education Reconsidered.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So that we all can reconsider how we support teachers in service to kids. There's this narrative around kid first, kid first, kid first. So most of our initiatives and our work and our priority and our funding goes to a student facing experience. But we often forget that students cannot be successful without a teacher who is also successful. So how do we reconsider the success in education by considering the teacher first, so that kids get the results that they deserve?
All right, now, see, you are my kind of lady. That's why I said my kind of. All right, I'm good with you. Please go ahead and scan those QR codes when they come up, so that you can go ahead and connect with her through LinkedIn and take a look at her link tree. So that is awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, you're up.
Hi, I'm Aaron DeVries, the Inclusive Dad. 21 years ago, I had a daughter. 3 months later, we found out she had epilepsy. So was thrown into the disability community. I didn't know anything about special education disability, so just learned all about that from workshops, other parents. And the reason the inclusion piece, my daughter, she qualifies under multiple different categories for an IEP. She uses a wheelchair, has vision, PT, OT. I'm forgetting some. So because of her needs, she was sent across town to a segregated classroom. Found out after the fact, after I'd gone in for lunch, to visit her at lunch, and saw that her in first grade, her classmates folding towels already. I'm like, hey, this isn't what I want for my child. So started working on the inclusion piece, getting her back in the classroom with, her peers. So I focus on that. I help families navigate the special education process to get their, children included as much as they want to. Just want to lessons I've learned. I want to help parents, shorten that learning curve and, tell them the little shortcuts and different things I've discovered, so they don't have to go through it themselves. And I agree. The teacher parent communication is very important with my clients. A lot of the issues arise when the relationship gets to a situation where they're not communicating effectively, or that portion of it. So it's very important that the parents work with the teachers to, get the best education they can for their children.
I agree. And I think that that's very powerful. I wish that I would have had somebody like you when I was having to go through it myself.
Yeah.
So when you walk in and see people folding towels and you're in life, so that's life skills, right?
Yep.
And your child is 8.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what happened to educating? Right?
Right.
That happened to me too. That's why, and so
Okay.
and so many years behind, my son got caught in a school. It's fine, right? It was initially okay until you go into the school and you
Yep.
find out that, oh wait, this is not right. It was an entire life skills school. And he was 5. And I was like, where is he moving on his own?
Right.
And they
Right.
said, what do you mean? I was like, life skills means that you're taking my job from home, which is wash your face, brush your teeth, put deodorant on, make sure your clothes are, no holes, put underwear on. And then here's how to count money. Here's how to fold clothes. Here's how to wash this. And then you're saying you're doing that in school. So where's the academic part?
Right.
So how did you feel? I can only imagine, because I was fuming.
Yeah, I mean, I was up. I mean, at first I was like, "What? I mean, why is this even happening?" Like surprised. Like I didn't know anything about it until I like showed up for lunch. So then
Right.
you're like, I mean, what if I wouldn't have shown up for lunch? She would have been folding towels. I wouldn't even have known about it. So there was that piece. But then I had the same feeling you did, where it's like, why are we already like at that young of an age, like counting out, like crossing off the academic piece? Like, why are we so early getting rid of that? Like why are they not in there learning stuff with their peers? And then, later on, if, it gets to a point we need to teach them skills, okay, but not for sure not when they're that young. It just doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
And then too, and you bring up a good point. And so this one is very interesting because and I think Corinthia will be able to validate one way or another how true it is. But it used to be that they were sorting the kids in 3rd grade with their reading and their math, right? By this point in 3rd grade, if you can't read and write and you're not going to catch up, we now understand that there is a school to prison pipeline that they were going to follow. And it's not necessarily all of these children will end up in prison. What it is that you're more likely to commit a crime when you are not as educated as you need to be, right? But I've just learned recently that they actually push it back to kinder. So they sort you so early, and then they remove your opportunities for whatever financial gain, which is very harmful, not only to the child, but to everyone around, because you have no idea. I think the military has now figured out that autistic adults are really good at very key things that they needed. But they discounted them for so long. And now they're like, wait, hang on. This is just a different ability. And we can actually utilize this to our benefit. But look how many millions of children who got discounted and their lives removed because someone in leadership felt like that person did not deserve to have the right or the opportunity to be successful. So yeah, that's just kind of how I see. All right, cool. So we'll go on. And of course, everybody knows me. My name is Tabitha Barron, and I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. So the Horns Heart goal is, at the end of the day, collectively, it is our responsibility to ensure the safety of our children. So what I will say is that it's very interesting, because I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, it's time to say it out loud, right? We put our kids on a school bus and we say, okay, go to school. And then when they leave school, somebody says, open up the door and says, okay, go home. There's that gap there, right? That predators know exists because nobody's paying attention. Mm-hmm. So our app is not meant to say, oh, you did it. What it's meant to say is that, hey, parents, your child left school here at this time. Please pay attention. Heads up, they're on their way, right? If the child makes a decision that's different from what the parents have put into place, this is an opportunity to solve that. When they don't have that information, children get lost for a longer period of time. So if I can give you a heads up with our app and say, that child, it takes them 10 minutes to walk home, you have a 10-minute window. 10 minutes means this. It is less likely for you to get off a school campus in 10 minutes and make a lot of leadway. Mm-hmm. But if I give you 30 minutes, you have at least 10 minutes to get off the campus, and you have an additional 20 minutes to make it at least 20 miles away. That is a significant radius to search for a child when they have been picked up and snatched. My job and my goal is to ensure that that does not happen. And there are lots of children that go missing, and we've been seeing a lot of different videos that are of kids running away from their perpetrators. It's time to solve that. We collectively have the responsibility to make sure that our children make it from point A to point B without someone interjecting their itinerary on that child. So that's what we're about. All right. So that being said, we're going to come in for this full conversation. So autism is not the only classification. So Corinthia, please share with everybody what are the other classifications for special needs, if you would. Do you remember them?
Do I remember them? Oh my goodness, no.
504.
The reason why, I mean, I'm familiar with the language. Let me say that. Like,
okay,
I'm familiar with a 504 plan for a kid because we had kids with 504s. I'm familiar with an IEP. I am familiar with the terminology. I am not an expert in special education, and I'm okay with that.
yes.
Have I been in meetings? Absolutely. I've been there because I had to be the LEA. That does not mean I facilitated a conversation, to Erin's point, to be able to effectively communicate with a parent about the services your kid is supposed to have, the services they are actually getting, and the benefits of those services. I am not that expert, but I am familiar with the importance of special education and why it exists, and the results that a kid could have if they're actually getting the services by a trained professional who is skilled at giving those services. Yes, I'm familiar with progress monitoring and those assessments that have to happen every week and all of those things. Very familiar with the language, but not an expert in the content.
This is awesome, and I'm good with that, and I love that. So this is what you just showed me. You just showed all of us that people do not have to be an expert, but they just need to be aware enough to know what rules to follow and what rules not to follow. And when you find people who are really honest about what their range is, you can respect them because they're going to go and get that information for you so that you can be supported later. I'm not an expert. I'm only an expert in my child and what I've had to experience, just as well as Aaron is in his, I'm assuming. But I just wanted to ask the question because we don't all have to know all the answers. We just have to know that we are responsible for doing our part.
Absolutely. I could definitely connect you with the AP of Scholar Support.
There you go. See, we're able to send you where you need to go.
I know who that person is.
All right, I got this. Okay, Aaron, so do you know some of the other classifications for special needs?
I think there's like 12 or 13. I mean, I don't have them memorized either, but I think there's 12 or 13 different eligibility categories. Like, I mean, there's my daughter, I think, qualifies under like severely multiply impaired, which just means that she qualifies under multiple categories. So, I mean, there's autism, other health impairments. I mean, I'm not asking you to name them. I was just asking. So there's like 13 different qualifications, and it really is just that's how your child will qualify or to access like the services under the IEP. So it's just that's kind of what it's for.
And the other thing is that a lot of people do not understand. There are things that qualify students for the SPED programs. Mm-hmm. That is just added. What I think that we really need to get away from this thing where we're shaming everybody. So you're shaming people for having cerebral palsy. I remember Sharon. Thank you, Sharon, for being here. I remember Sharon saying that they told her parents, I didn't know she could learn because she was in a wheelchair. Who says that to somebody? Why would you do that? And what does a wheelchair have to do with that person's brain? No. And then the ones who have ADHD, right? First of all, okay, I'm annoyed by the fact that they've taken so much time, so much playtime away from the littles, right? Because where do you think where's that energy going? Those kids, I don't think a lot of them have ADHD necessarily. I think they are not as active as they need to be to get that energy out of their bodies and out into the ether so that they can function in a way so they can self-soothe and calm down. What are your thoughts around that?
I mean, I agree that, yeah, everybody needs to get the energy out. And I agree with you that it's just kids are young. I have a hard time sitting still for extended periods of time. And I'm not a child, so I think it's much worse. You need to have your recesses, your time breaks in between to get up and move around, or even during instruction if it's not, if they can stand up next to their desk and listen, or, walk around their desk, just to need to get up and move around to get energy out for sure.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues, he would be what people would say undiagnosed, and that's even if he needed to be diagnosed. And he was extremely active. Like, he was the kid that wanted to move around and all the things. And sometimes his movement became distracted for other students.
Yeah.
And all the teacher did was he took the painter's tape and he made a square all the way around his desk. And he was like, here's the deal. You can move as much as you need to move inside of your box. If, to Aaron's point, if you need to stand up, if you need to sit down, if you need to cross your legs, whatever,
Right.
as long as you stay in your box. And he didn't have any problems with him after that. It was like, cool, this is my space. I own it. I learned boundaries. I know that I can take up as much of this space as I need to get my work done. And it was it.
Yep.
Very much so. And I did that too, because those stemming actions with autistic kids, I think the one teacher was like, I was so annoyed that kid just take the pencil and they would just roll it across the table, and all during the class, and it was driving her crazy. But the point is that's what he needed in order to be okay.
Right.
But everybody else felt like it was annoying to them. So you have to find the one that works for them. My son is a pacer. So if he gets so irritated or so bothered, he has a tendency to walk. I don't know if that was something I did. I don't know, but I know that's what he needed. So in his IEP, individualized education plan, he has a section in there where it allowed him to go and stand up in the back of the room and pace the floor until he could self-soothe himself back down to a place in which he can hear.
Right.
That was allowed only because I had put it in there. I was like, hey, this is something we really do need to do. You have to stop trying to force him to stay still. But I did a different episode. I did a different live, and I found that I was kind of bothered by it, because 7 hours of education for a little, okay, and you only give them 20 minutes to run off steam in a day. I'm sorry. That is so wrong in so many different ways that it is extremely discouraging. And that is, I don't understand how we're okay with that, how that seems to be the thing that we want to do with our little ones. Because K-5, they have to learn how to sit still. And then when you go 6 to 8, that's when they start smelling themselves and getting in your face, and you have to set them down a little bit. And high school is where they're getting ready to prepare to go out on their own, so they understand the expectations of life. But for you to be pulling that back is just not okay.
And most educators agree that it's not okay. It's just the priorities of what everything else needs to happen means that we have to cover this much in so much time, and the school day is only this. So now we minimize the impact of things that actually support learning versus the direct instruction at great lengths. It's what do we do? Do we let them go outside and play for 45 minutes? Or do we have them sit in this guided reading session for 3 rounds of 60 minutes? Like, how does this work? What do we pick? And until we actually use the data with our most data-informed selves to actually say, hey, let's do something different. And the amazing thing is that there are so many schools and leaders and teachers who are willing to say, our kids play. And they're going outside, they're going to stretch, they're going to have PE, they're going to have music, they're going to have all the things, and they're still going to learn to read.
Yeah.
And they're still going to be social emotionally intelligent. They're going to do all the things, because it really comes down to choice. And you can choose to be different in service to kids getting the things that they need, if it's really kid first.
That is the thing, if it's really kids first. So how do we as parents figure out how to get there? So parents are saying no. I mean, first of all, here's the thing. 2 things I will say. 1, when they pushed the parents out of the school and no longer allowed us to come in and peek into the windows and see what was really happening, They closed off the doors of one, support, and two, now they have the ability to abuse behind closed doors without our parents knowing. Now, the reason why I use the word abuse to be as extreme as possible is because I am with a parent right now whose child was being abused over and over and over again inside of the school building, and then they blamed him for it. That is unacceptable, and it's because they pushed the parents out and says, no, we take it from here. So they're taking ownership of our children for this period of time, and they're making all of these changes, but the child is suffering the most, and then the household is suffering. And I don't get how we're supposed to do that. So the data does not support what they're doing as being successful. The data supports that something needs to change. So, and the other thing is children learn and play. So why is it that we have to choose to sit still for 60 minutes versus play for 60 minutes with the intent to teach? Why is it we can't do that? Is there a reason?
There's a choice for the teacher. Like I taught guided reading, and my kids who could sit could sit. But if you can read your page to be standing up, then read your page standing up. Most teachers either find it easier for kids to be doing all the same thing because it's easier to manage. And some of them just don't have the skill yet to manage kids doing different things at different times. And unless they're being coached to be able to do that, they will choose which of this is easier for me to manage, to keep in a service to keep kids safe. It's not always I'm choosing this for myself. It's I'm literally trying to keep my eye on the 6 in front of me and the 32 that are over here working independently as kindergartners, right? With no aid, right? So what does that look like? So most of the times teachers choose ease over what's best because it's easier to manage.
So how do we help them do that? Because I feel like that's the one thing that we need to respond to, right? Because that thing, we need to help them understand. Because here's the thing, if the Department of Education does not fix some of these problems, you are losing kids on a regular basis into charters, homeschooling, and cyber. Those programs were not set up to be there for long term, I do not believe, but it was an answer to being disrespected and disregarded, right? I showed up in my school and I fought the school district about my son being misplaced. The only reason why I found out, the only reason why I figured out that he was in life skills school was because one day when he was bringing me these weird papers home and I was like, what is this? And I said, and I was like, I need to come and see. And they're like, we can't have you walk in the hall. You don't want him to be seen. You don't want him to see you. And I was like, whatever, just don't worry. I have this. He understands me and I understand him. We're fine. So I go and I peek in the window and I see what's happening. And when I told you my heart broke and dropped at the same time, I was like, no. But do you know that was the last time I was able to enter a school again? So they wouldn't let me come back because then I started a fight because I was like, no. But the next school let me in the school because they were having a hard time because we had to take him out of his placement in the middle of a school year. Mm-hmm. And so now he's fighting everybody. It's become, I don't want to be here. You guys took me away from my friends because he was skating on Easy Street. He wasn't being challenged academically. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how do parents need, how do we get the parents to see what they need to see in order to make some of these changes and shifts? I don't know how to do that, Aaron.
It's a great point. I mean, like you said, when my daughter was younger, I mean, I would show up at lunchtime, just check in, walk down to the classroom, be able to sit there and leave. And I've lots of stories now where parents aren't allowed in or they can't go see their kid in the class because the other kids have IEPs and they say it's HIPAA, which it's not. It's not HIPAA. That's not even real, but it's, there's other reasons. And it's, I mean, for me as a parent, I mean, I'm not sure if I couldn't go see my kid at school, I'm not sure how I would handle that. I'm not sure I would allow them to go to school because like my daughter's somewhat nonverbal, so I can understand her, but I mean, she's not able to communicate everything that might happen to her. So like, I mean, my concern is something happens, she's not able to like verbalize it to me. So I wouldn't even know that it happened. So, I mean, it's tough. I think like when Corinthia was talking, like her describing what the teacher's experiencing in the classroom, like what they're trying to do. As a parent, I've never heard anybody say that before. So for me, just listening to it, like having that open communication, like I could be mad at the teacher because they're not doing it, but why not take that moment? Hey, can you explain? I feel like my child needs to move around more. Can you explain why they're not? And then, have that open, non-defensive conversation. Cause for me, it makes sense. Like if you can't control, you're trying to control everything or, manage it, and it's hard. I mean, as a parent, I would be like, that seems reasonable that, some days you can't, go out as much or something. Just have that open dialogue. So you're not like, why is the teacher being a jerk? They're not doing this and they're not listening to me. No, just at least at first talk. Hey,
Right.
what's going on? This doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain it? So, I mean, that, just like I said, just hearing you explain that, it made complete sense to me, and I had never heard it before. So,
Yeah. I think a lot of times we don't realize it. So home is a place. So I tell my kids all the time, home is a place where your foundation is met, right? That's where you build you pour your foundation right there. You can't build a house on sand. It doesn't stand, but you can build your house on something that's solid. So at this point, as parents, you got 5 years. You got 5 years to put into the child what you need them to have to start with. And that's the value systems, what's right and what's wrong, where not to go and who not to go with, right? And then after that, we kind of build upon that. Then we bring our other actors in to help us, right? To fill in the gaps to where we don't have. But I think if parents don't start there, they have a harder time. But here's the thing, because I will say there's 90,000 schools in the United States. If the school turns to you and says, you are not welcome here and your opinions don't count for how we are going to educate your children, find another school. Let me say it louder for the people in the back. Find another school. The reason why I say that is because I had an AP sit across the table from me and tell me that when you leave, we will do what we want to do with your child because you are impeding his progress. And I, in all of the loveliness that I am, told him, try me and you will not have a job tomorrow. So, and then at the end of that, I told him, and you will never show up in another one of my IEP meetings again. You have been uninvited because you are disrespectful and you have him for 3 years. I have him for life. You have not earned the right to tell me how my child is going to thrive in an environment that is not set up for him. And I can say that day was a very hard day because I hurt a lot of people's feelings that day. But the women in the room, the diagnostician and his teachers and everything, when he said it, they all bowed their heads because they immediately knew that everything was about to go left. You are your child's best advocate for a school, period, regardless of how they're going to educate. You are responsible. The law doesn't come in and say, you allowed that teacher to do all those bad things to that child and did nothing. So you're going to be absolved of this and we're going to blame the teacher. They're going to say you had every right to ring the bell and you didn't. You just allowed it to happen. So if you're going to be part of the solution, you got to scream out even when it's not popular. And if you're going to be part of the problem, then you go ahead and sit back and be quiet and let your child be railroaded into an environment that's not good for them. So on the other side of that, there's teacher support, right? Because those paras, I love me a para, I'm going to tell you. I had some really awesome ones. So those were good for me. And so that's when I learned that they are the people that are the right ones. But how do we get them support? Because they need SEL, because they are dealing with more challenging situations than some of the other teachers are. So how do we help them, and how do we get them to come back or be more I guess, I don't know. We have to do something because we're losing them too.
I think, well, paras are teachers. In my experience, we cater to paras the same way we cater to a classroom teacher because both of their roles are essential, right? The para can't do their job without the teacher, and the teacher can't do their job without the para. So in service to both is where the ball gets dropped. because it's hard already to support teachers through coaching for various reasons, right? And to your point earlier, teachers leave for three big reasons: pay, support, and leadership. 2/3 of the problem are in a school. Like the principal is not responsible for the pay, right? Like my as an assistant principal, I didn't control the salary, but I was in control of support and how my teachers experienced me as a leader. 2/3 of their problem I'm responsible for, flat out, right? So if we haven't gotten to a space where coaching is normal in a school setting or prioritized, you have teachers who don't have the skill. And for teachers, there's a will gap and a skill gap. There are teachers who are just unwilling to do a great job, and we can coach you up and out of that, right? You can be uninvited. But then there are a plethora of teachers who have the will to do right by kids, because after all, they said yes over and over. They said yes to student debt to go into somebody's classroom. They said yes to years of education to go into somebody's classroom. There is a will there to teach kids. And we have a responsibility to take those who are willing and to coach them up to do the job that they said yes to, well, for themselves and for the teachers they serve. SEL is very important, but people only use it for language. It was the same way with differentiation. It's like, let's just throw these terms out, expect teachers to do something for kids that they don't know how to do for themselves. Teachers lack self-awareness. They lack self-management. They lack resilience. They lack empathy. But yet every part of their job requires them to pull on some part of the social emotional intelligence. So you know why kids can't build relationships? Because teachers don't know how to build relationships. You know why kids can't keep commitments? Because teachers don't know how to keep commitments to themselves. So if I spend 8 hours with you every day trying to teach you something I have not learned for myself, I am no good to you or myself, right? So there are a plethora of schools who realize we have to go back to the teacher. Yep. So while there is this loud noise around all the horrible schools and horrible experiences, there are schools who have gotten it right.
Yep.
There are teachers who have gotten it right. And education prides itself on what's the model? Let's follow the model. What's the example? Let's prove what's possible. Well, damn it, can we go to the schools that's proven it to be possible and replicate those best practices? Every SPED department does not suck across the country. There are SPED departments that are phenomenal. Yes. I'll give you a perfect example. St. Charles County in Missouri, their SPED department is impeccable. The level of detail around their interventions to minute, the day, the teacher, that is insane. So St. Louis Public Schools can replicate that success. Cobb County can replicate that success. Teachers are the best sharers of best practices. There are leaders making decisions, teachers making decisions to not do what is right for kids. And until they become less in number or quieter in their influence and impact, we will continue to have those conversations. My hope is that we change the conversation to amplify how do we do it and support those who are willing to do it, so that we have less of people having, like Erin, having to go to a school to figure out that their kid is not being serviced, right? It's okay. I'm sending you. I trust you to do right by kids. I shouldn't have to show up because I want to have lunch with my kid to realize you're not doing right. Do right because it's right to do, and that's what you said you would do. So that when Erin shows up the next time, he can sit down and enjoy and see what's happening with his kid from a lens of, oh, this is helpful. And if by chance he decides to give feedback, there's a culture of feedback that says we listen to our parents.
Yep. And I have this, I'm like, boom, yes, I'm not the only one saying this. And this is very true because we had Paul on last week, created a school program, right? There are many programs across the United States that have it right. Ron Clark's Academy has it right. They have it right. So people said, and these were teachers, they were in the classroom and they said, enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. And they made a decision. But here's the thing. It started with someone saying, enough. I don't like where this is heading. You have a bunch of kids that have zero patience, zero empathy. They're only going after money. You know, to bring it back to kind of to the Bible, they said the children will, that the generations will have no natural affection. Are we not experiencing that now? Right? Because the point is that we have taught them to take their feelings away, and it doesn't count, and it doesn't matter, and do as I say, not as I do, and you don't own this, and I don't care about all these things. And then we say, oh, and by the way, you have to go and get educated by a bunch of people who don't like you and don't want to educate you, and that they're having a hard time. The pandemic put on a bunch of glasses for a lot of different people, and we're still hurting about the pandemic. The grocery store is hurting us. So there's a lot of people that can't eat. There's a lot of people who have empty refrigerators. There's a lot of people who cannot take care of their families, working 2 and 3 jobs, just trying to keep the roof, right? And then, so that gap is happening. And then you're saying on top of that, you have to manage this child's differences and things like that, or challenges that they have. And now they don't want to go to school because of how the teacher treats them, or how they don't have control over certain things. And then we're said, oh, but it's still our fault, or there's no other options, or what, that none of that's true. That's why I have this running across the bottom, because Corinthia, you did bring it out. Parent number 1 is home. You validated the parent number 2 is school. School helps in that. And they have over 1,800 hours in a short period of time, in a short period of time with your child. That means that everything, that's why I don't believe in universal pre-K. Keep your kids out of the schools until they're 5, because by the age of 5, they're pretty much solidified. And after that, if you send them in at 3, they got 2 years to pull out all of your value systems and shove in what they want. And what will happen is you will see a shift in the child's personality and behavior. And now they're on a different trajectory that does not equal and look like yours. So what is one of the things, Aaron, that you have found that has been helpful for parents as they navigate this educational gap with their children?
The first thing that comes to mind is just like trust your gut. As a parent, you're around your kid the most. If something doesn't feel right for it to you, ask, bring it up. Like, I have a lot of parents where they ask me, they tell me a story, this is what I'm feeling, does that sound crazy? I'm like, it doesn't sound crazy. You're the parent. If your gut is telling you something's not right, ask questions, go after it. I feel like you need to do that. Another thing I thought about when you were talking is, I'm divorced, and when you're divorced, and you shouldn't do this if you're married too, but you shouldn't talk crap about the other parent. So like, I feel it's similar for like between the home and school. Like, if I don't agree with the teacher or I'm mad at them, I shouldn't be saying that stuff in front of my child, because they're with the teacher all day. So if I'm talking crap about the teacher, they're going to hear that, and then they're going to go there like they're going to have those feelings attached to it. So I feel like, as adults, we need to watch what we're saying about other people around our children, so that doesn't affect them. Those are the 2 things that came to mind, but it's just, and like you also said, there's 90,000 schools. We live in a town of 20,000, and there are schools with it. They're like 15 to 20 miles away. So when we're thinking about inclusion for my daughter, like, the school system view on inclusion is not even close to the same as my view. But as a parent, you have to, okay, well, I pull her out. But if I pull her out to go to somewhere else, you have more stuff. But maybe we should have, because if you could find a school nearby who's doing inclusion the way that I think it should be done, that would just save so many headaches. And like with the inclusion piece too, there are schools that are doing it. So like Corinthia said, like, how can we get, have everybody learn from those schools about the inclusion that's being done correctly, and bring that to other schools. And it comes down to, a lot of it's just like in my district, the superintendent, the upper, people just don't view inclusion that way. So they're carrying out their policies based on that, that belief. So it's just so much stuff. Corinthia, like, what if like, for me, a parent in a district where they don't view inclusion like I think they should, but I'm not able to, maybe move my daughter to another district, what kind of suggestions do you have for parents in that situation about inclusion, or maybe a different topic?
My first suggestion is to wear them out.
Oh,
Wear them. I am here. I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere because eventually, just from being sick of you, some change will happen, right?
Right.
But once you wear me out, there's only so many times that you're gonna
Right.
email me on Mondays at 7 asking about how your kid did on X, Y, and
Yep.
Z. Before I be like, I'm just gonna answer now, right?
Right.
I'm just gonna answer now because your voice matters. And as many times as people try to push voice away, they cannot unhear what you said.
Right.
And that's going to play over and over and over. And you'll bump against somebody that says, I think Aaron has a point. I think we can do better. And even if I cannot, because as an assistant principal, as a teacher, there were some things that I just couldn't do to
Right.
completely win over or improve the situation. But me being honest about what I couldn't do and willing to do what I could do often made a difference. But that comes back to a willingness to serve, a willingness to be of support.
I agree.
I might not be able to do all the things that you're asking me to do to the quality in which you know that they should be done. But I can acknowledge that and say, I hear you, I understand, and here's what I can do. Because somebody is willing to listen. Somebody.
Kristen is funny. She's like, hire me. Hire me. Yes, wear them out. That's right. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Like, I think that, and that's the one thing I've said this about you, because I was like, oh, I can't get her. I can't seem to get her. And you're like, girl, get my DMs. Go ahead, Mom. Go. And my thing is that this is true. If it's worth it, so if you want the car, you keep calling for the car. If you want your child's education to be better, you'll keep calling for your child's education to be better. You can take the same data that they force feed us to say, we're doing such a lovely job. And you can take that same data, turn it around and point it back at them and say, oh, no, you're not. And be able to use the data to support whatever changes need to happen. And I think that a lot of times we as parents become fearful and we work from a place of I don't think I know enough, so I won't do enough.
Right.
And that's not okay. You know enough because I don't care what nobody say. If the baby passes through any parts of your body, you know enough. If you adopted a baby and you've been working through all of this stuff and that child is in your everyday space and in your bed and in your food and in your refrigerator and everything, you know enough.
Right.
You are responsible. If the child goes and sets the school on fire, you are responsible for the child setting the school on fire. So if the school sets your house on fire, your child is not going to jail for setting the house on fire. The school is going to jail for setting your house on fire. So just be mindful. If you don't fight for your child won't fight for your child, right? They won't fight for themselves. So you got to get out there and fight. And and don't be, what are you afraid of? What's the worst they can do? What is the worst they can do? The thing about this situation is, let's bring it back to this one place. And I know this is not what we were talking about, but it's a very good example. Those parents that got convicted in Michigan, that's because they did not take their parental responsibilities seriously. That is a prime example of not fighting for your child. He was saying, I have a problem. And it was a horrible way to say it, but he was saying he had a problem. And the parents the way they handled it was not okay. And it cost people their lives. That is the type of stuff we're looking at now, because everybody's getting tired. And then the parents are not they're not taking responsibility, because at some point in time, they may have felt as though their responsibility or their authority was being removed from them. So if you feel as though you don't have authority to back your child up or support your child or ask for what that child is needing, your child can find themselves in situations very similar to that, because there's no way to support when you don't feel like you have the right to support.
The other thing that I would add too is get comfortable with the change happening over time, because you are now amplifying your voice, but you may not see the change till next semester,
Right.
the next school year, or the school year after. But at the same time, you are showing others that our voices are important and the work can be done, because the things that we are experiencing now don't always happen immediately. But
Right.
somebody's going to be able to say, I remember in 2023, the inclusive dad showed up and he was all present for his daughter. And now my kid is enrolling in kindergarten, and I'm confident that my kid won't have the same experience. And I'm so happy and grateful for Aaron and his conviction and his commitment and his voice to not only make a change for his daughter, but for all daughters and sons to come after. So while his daughter experienced the hardship, while
Right.
his head hurt, while he cried at night, while his baby, all of those things, he said yes to enduring that to make a change, is all worth the change that you went through. And I know it does not feel good in the season of seeing your baby hurt. I know
Right.
it does not feel good at all. But I want to tell you that people are watching, they are noticing, and it is not going on deaf ears. People are trying to make the changes. And one day you're going to look up and you're going to be like, the change has happened, because it needs to happen. And it does not happen in the absence of commitment, dedication, and awareness of your influence and impact. So I say thank you to you for the change that is already happening and the continued impacts that it will have by you showing up, not just for your own kid, but for the clients you serve, because a day is going to come where the school that your baby is in now will look totally different, because you said and believed that it could be.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do, that's why I was like, oh, when I knew you too, this was good. This has been an amazing conversation. And because I have to say, if anybody's watching this, all those who are watching this, there were some nuggets and mic drops and stuff in here that if you do not know how to go out and advocate for your children, you were not listening to the same broadcast, right? You were not. But please reach out to us, reach out and get with us, because we're here to support you, because collectively the adults in the room are responsible for the upbringing of all these children now. And for those people who say, well, I don't have children in the school system. Cool, no problem. But here's where the problem lies. You pay taxes and you're an employee or an employer. And those employees come from K through 12. Yep. So if you don't get this stuff together in education, the bad behavior that exists in K through 12 will show up in your corporate business. And then you will have the same problem we are trying to solve right now. Right. So sure. Be the change you want to see. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and bring up our final thoughts. Go ahead and let us know, what should we do? Give us your final thoughts as we wrap up.
What should we do? We should stay committed to supporting kids through supporting teachers. Parents, y'all are our allies. I know it don't always feel like that, but y'all are. Teachers, parents, or your allies. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but they are. And collectively, it is our responsibility. Education is a system. That system is being managed by humans. And when humans decide that we want better and we will come together to do better, then we will experience the change that we both want and deserve for ourselves and our kids. It's really that simple.
I'm saying, oh girl, I'm so happy. I found me a new friend. I'm going to myself. Yes. Everybody needs to. You need to connect with Corinthia, because at the same time, we're going to bring you back, because we're going to talk about teacher retention. Yeah. Because there's something about teacher retention that will be able to help the child long term. Absolutely. And me personally, I couldn't be a teacher, but I know what I could do as a teacher. All the teachers around would be upset because I would be noisy, but my kids will be on the top end of the learning curve. Trust me when I tell you. Absolutely. All right, Aaron, what's your final thoughts, sir?
I'm not sure how I follow up with that, but everything she said, and just like I said, parents, trust your gut. You are your child's best advocate and expert about them. So just if something's not right, question it, bring up stuff, and give the teachers and the staff the benefit of the doubt. me to ask questions if something doesn't seem right. Like I said, I listened to Corinthia explain how teachers are feeling. I didn't know that before. So just, have that conversation with the teachers and be respectful and work together to make the school better for your child.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And then, so we want to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for coming to join us. I know you had an option. You chose to spend that time with us. So we do appreciate it. So do me a favor and go ahead and scan that QR code. Special thanks to our friends at Helpopedia. We have options for you, believe it or not. So Helpopedia is here to help you with your special needs challenges sometimes, for planning for college, and for helping your child to differentiate themselves from others as they're entering into college. As always, we do love our teachers, even though you think we don't because we're fussing at you. We do love our teachers and we want you to be good at what you're doing. But I do know you need help. And so that's what we want to say. There was the last thing. Oh, and the last thing is, please remember to follow and subscribe to the channel, because all of the episodes will be there and it is a wonderful community to be a part of. So again, I love the fact that I've been able to find some beautiful people to share in, helping you to identify those solutions that will help your teachers, your schools, and your students. So please just look out for us, contact us, and let us know how you think, what you're thinking. Until next time, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.